I'd like to see a continued focus on creativity in advanced and addressable television. Certainly at GroupM Nexus, we think about uniting media and creative storytelling. So, and I think I say this quite often, we all have this amazing, wonderful creative canvas in our homes, at least a minimum of sort of one television within a household. And that gives us a real opportunity to dial creativity up. We looked back at the number of impressions that we'd served in 2022, and we'd served 11 billion impressions. And then when we looked at how many of those had any form of creative message optimization, it was under 1%. So we've set ourselves a very, very lofty sort of target that by 2026, every impression that we serve within our advanced TV ecosystem, which will probably be between 80 to 100 million, will have some form of creative message optimization. And the reason that we believe in that is that when you actually look at the TV screen, it lends itself to this high attention platform. It lends itself to high mental availability. And again, when we sort of apply attention metrics into the fold, when we're thinking about creative optimization or creativity within addressable television, we know that the platform matters. We know that's the biggest attractor of attention. And that is then followed by audience, by creative, and by the brand itself. But we also know that addressable television within the family of television punches above its weight with about 20% more active attention. And then we also know that creativity is enhanced if it's being targeted to the right audience segmentation. And obviously within our advanced TV solution, we're always focused on the household and having the geo key as that identifier. So there's a really lovely opportunity to combine the two. We've done a lot of research over the last 12 months as well that's allowed us to look at how would we create more accessibility into creative message optimization for clients, whether they be big clients, smaller clients, or new to television clients. And that's around pre-campaign enhancements of creative. So you don't just have to focus on a highly expensive 30-second TVC. You can also look at how do you take some assets, how do you enhance them, whether that be in terms of brand, whether that be in terms of short-term sales uplift, or just emotional intensity. So combining that and then allowing us to really optimize creative as we go through the campaign process and life cycle, definitely a big focus. So that for me, that always sits within the innovation bucket when we think about advanced television. And I think we've got a long ways to go. But I think it's a super exciting part of what we do. And I'd love to come back to sort of Beet Retreat Santa Monica next year and really be able to showcase some of the great addressable advanced TV examples that we will have had, not just in the US, but from around the world.
You mentioned attention. There's a lot of excitement right now around the potential for measuring that and using a number of different ways. Do you see that as becoming the next wave of the next currency, potentially the next way we evaluate creative? What role is it going to play?
So for us, where we're thinking about attention is how do we actually build attention into the planning process itself? So again, within our advanced TV proposition, we have a software tool, Audience Planner, that kind of acts as our backbone. So it enables us to integrate all of our data sources, first-party, third-party data sources, working in a privacy-compliant way with our clients, of course, using clean rooms where necessary, using baseline, household-level data, census data, loyalty card data, multiple sources of data, building that in to be able to build our segments on a household level to really start the process of sort of targeting from an advanced TV perspective. What we want to do is build the attention metrics into that so that we can overlay them. So that when you're actually looking at the segment and looking at how you're going to target within the addressable TV ecosystem, you've built the attention metrics into that already. So then when you're thinking about reach and frequency, and what that sort of incrementality looks like, attention has been taken care of or has been considered within the planning process. So for us, it's a bit more upstream at the moment. It's actually realizing attention and kind of bringing it to life within the planning process.
A big topic this week has been sort of like, what is television, and what are we including and not including? And I wonder what the attention measurement you're doing tells you, whether like everything in CTV is television, but YouTube and TikTok and other things are not, or are they?
So what it's telling us, so we've worked extensively with amplified intelligence in terms of looking at attention and particularly platforms. And what it tells us is the platform matters. So the screen matters. So, the television screen itself and the platform is going to derive more attention than if you were on a smaller screen scrolling. So that's how we're looking at attention, when we're thinking about attention within the big screen, professionally produced, made for TV content, versus, a more sort of social feed on a smaller device or mobile. So attention levels and, sort of aspects of mental availability vary based on the platform itself. So that's kind of where we start on that. And then, of course, we're always really considering content. How do we classify content? When we're talking about CTV content, when we're talking about quality professionally produced content, and into commerce, but also into gaming, like how are we classifying that? And we've done, a lot of research. We have a proprietary research platform in the UK called Thinking Inside the Box. And only last year, we did a piece of research just to try and understand, when we're talking about addressable CTV, what are the definitions? And if you talk to a younger male audience, 18 to, sort of 35-year-olds, they view gaming as professionally produced content. Many of the participants in the research, when you ask them about BVOD, that to them is CTV. That is television. So it's constantly evolving. But I think when we pull it back to the attention piece, it's just really about understanding what is the role of the screen and the platform. And once you know that, then you can start working on, obviously, from an audience targeting perspective, creative, and then the branding.
Speaking of the role of the screen and what we were talking about with advanced targeting, where do you come down on? There's a lot of discussion and excitement around shoppable TV, whether it's going to be a big thing or not. Where do you come down on this potential?
I think it's got huge potential. I think commerce. It's interesting. GroupM, when we talk about commerce, we're not talking about commerce as a channel per se. It's essentially commerce. Integrated commerce is looking at strategy, it's looking at activation, it's looking at data, and it's looking at technology, and it's being able to deliver business outcomes across the 4 pillars of e-retail, kind of in-store retail itself, direct to consumer, and obviously social commerce as well. So if we think about that as kind of this big, wonderful commerce ecosystem, and then you think about the role of television within that, there's a huge opportunity, and that will span from looking at retail media itself, whether that be in Amazon or Walmart's, and key partners, looking at things like SKU level receipt transaction data and how we can build that into our planning platform, and then obviously sort of content or creative formats, but shoppable ads, QR codes. We've been doing a lot of work in the last 12 months around QR codes, creating a baseline, a benchmark to actually understand what are we looking at when we're trying to understand if a QR code has worked within an ad. And that's only going to sort of get bigger and better. So absolutely massive opportunity. I think the key is integrated commerce being a core and integral part, again, of the planning process. So from strategy through to planning, through to activation, through to measurement and reporting, and then back through the loop. So I'm super excited about commerce and TV being an enabler of commerce and retail media.